Hello, my name is Kelsey, and this video is for Dr. Hurley's Understanding Cultural Diversity class. For my interviews, I chose to interview my mother, Amy Chisholm, and a close family friend, Terry Brewer. I'm going to start off with my mom. She was born in Bristol, Tennessee in 1974, so she's 40 years old. Her family of origin is from Germany, and a little bit of background about her and her family. My grandparents, were just typical normal people. My grandmother was a stay-at-home mom, and she would clean houses on the side for extra money for herself. And my grandfather worked in a factory plant type place for many years. My mom was the first one to go to any type of school. In our family, she went to a local community college and got her RN degree, and she's been an RN for about 20 years now. I asked her as a child if she ever recalled any adult discussing prejudice with her, and she said growing up that her family acted like it was invisible, like it wasn't there, that they never discussed it, kind of swept it under the rug. For number 3, sometimes people will tell children one thing but model another. Did you pick up on any unwritten rules? She said that her family said that they weren't prejudiced and that they weren't judgmental, but that if they were to go out somewhere and see an interracial couple or a gay and lesbian couple, that they would, make rude comments and just talk bad about that. So that's a little bit of a double standard, she said. I asked her, can you recall one of the first times that you encountered someone who was different than you? She said that she remembers seeing people that were different, that they may have looked different or been a different race or something like that, but that she has just always thought of everyone being the same, so that she never really saw a difference. For number 5, thinking back over her life, could she identify any events that happened on a national or regional level that influenced her? She did say that growing up, she remembered seeing the KKK march down State Street in Bristol, Virginia, Tennessee, which is crazy. But she said that she could only imagine how scary that must be for some people. For question 6, what about personal events that may have influenced her thinking? About 10 years ago, my mom was a home health nurse, and she had a car accident on the job, and it ended up breaking her back and leaving her paralyzed from her waist down. So this has kind of influenced our whole family's thinking about this and how handicapped people are treated on a daily basis, and how much prejudice is there that people don't think about. And my mom has experienced that many times firsthand, and it really is just so awful. Especially being so young. Many times my mom gets so many looks like, what is she doing in a wheelchair? Like, she can get up. Well, no, you don't know the whole story. Like, she can't, So that's been kind of hard for her and for all of us. What have you told, or what do you plan to tell your children about prejudice? My mom has always just told me to, treat others the same, to love them, that we're all equal, that no one is better than anyone else. And that's been awesome that she's taught me that. For the next question, do you think that the problem of prejudice in the United States has stayed the same, grown worse, or improved? She said that she thinks that it has improved, that now we have many more gay rights and like gay marriage and things like that, equal opportunity, and that women are also in the workforce, and that just keeps improving. For question 9, who do you believe had the most influence on your views about diversity? She thinks that it's been her religion and her family. She had a grandmother that instilled in her to treat people equally, no matter what they look like, what they have, what they don't have, what they're doing. We're all equal, and to treat them like that. Question 10, what, if anything, do you believe is your responsibility in combating prejudice? She said that she thinks her responsibility is to set an example, one that is not showing prejudice, and that hopefully people will follow along. And if we all work together, we can, try to fix this problem of prejudice. And for question 11, how do you believe that prejudice and discrimination should be handled in the U.S.? My mom thinks that there should be more fines for those that are prejudiced and that discriminate against others, more of like a legal action, because it really is a serious problem and it really can affect someone. So she thinks that there should be more serious consequences for these things. And for my second interview, I interviewed a family friend named Terry Brewer. Terry was born in Marion, Virginia, which is in Smith County, in 1963, so she is in her 50s. A little bit of background about her. Her mother worked in a sewing factory, so she was a factory worker, and her father was a teacher and a coach at a high school. And Terry has a brother who is 1 year younger than her. She attended a community college in Woodville for a little less than 2 years, and she has worked with children since she was 16 years old. And also Terry has been a Sunday school teacher, and she also continues to go to a regional jail every Sunday night and teaches to the girls there, which is really awesome. For question 2, as a child, did she recall any adult ever discussing prejudice with her? She said that she doesn't really remember like a specific time, but that she remembers her family saying mean things such as the N-word, and there was like an invisible barrier between the black people and the white people in her community growing up. For question 3, sometimes people will tell children one thing but model another. Did you pick up on any unwritten rules? She said that whenever she was a teenager that her father moved schools, so they had to move school systems for him to teach and coach, and that this school system had half white children and half black children, so this really opened up her eyes to diversity and like acceptance and things in herself, so that was really awesome. For question 4, can you recall one of the first times that you encountered someone that was different than you? And that would have been that school setting. She said that she met many awesome African American friends that she loved dearly, and that she was so glad that she had that opportunity of change to meet these people and to be a part of their lives. She did mention that in the 8th grade, Terry and her grandparents were at a grocery store, and one of her African American friends from school ran up to her and gave her a hug. And once the little girl left, her grandparents scolded her for associating with an African American and especially hugging her in public. And Terry did not understand why she was in trouble, because she didn't think she had done anything wrong. But they thought that was embarrassing to them. And she just said that she was very confused by their ugliness of that. For question 5, thinking back over your life, can you identify any events that happened on a national or regional level that influenced your thinking? She said not really, that it was just more of like personal things like that have happened that have influenced her to, want to love all people no matter what. For question 6, what about personal events that have influenced your thinking? And, that's the same thing. She just wants to love everyone, or she wanted to. She still does. No matter what her family thought. She wanted to be her own person, and she didn't think what they thought was right was right. For question 7, what have you told your children, or what do you plan to tell your children about prejudice? She said that she's never really talked to her children about prejudice, but that they have taught their children to love and respect others, and that she's always made it a point to tell them that it's important to make others feel included. For question 8, do you think that the problem of prejudice in the United States has improved, gotten worse, or stayed the same? Terry said that she thinks that it has improved, that we have much more exposure to all types of people and groups of people, um, and that, we have schools and work, and, everyone works together, and a lot of times there are different types of people in these places that work together, so that shows the awesome team effort. For the next question, who do you believe had the most influence on your views about diversity? And she said that it has been her father, where he taught in the school system, and they were exposed to very diverse things in children and people, that he has taught her to love and encourage everyone, and include people of all races. And that her faith has been very important, that God loves, period, and that she wants to do the same thing no matter what. For question 10, what, if anything, do you believe is your responsibility? She thinks that her responsibility in combating prejudice is respecting those that she comes in contact with, no matter what differences they may have. So that's really good. And how do you believe that prejudice and discrimination should be handled in the U.S.? She thinks that we should just be exposed to everything, just to know that it's out there. Don't sweep it under the rug like it's not there. And if we start to act like it's normal and that we're all the same, that we will start treating other people the same. So that's great. And from these interviews, which I have really enjoyed doing, I've learned so many awesome things about how things have been and how they are now, and the differences and all the improvement that we've made. But one thing that has really stuck out to me is that people still think that prejudice, most of the time, is just with race. My mom did talk about gay rights and stuff like that, and like with the women and the handicap prejudice. And a lot of people tend to not think about those, but they are still out there. It's very prominent, and we just need to try to teach others. I think that there's just so many types of prejudice, not just one, but also understand where people are coming from, their backgrounds and what they were taught growing up and things like that. But I've really enjoyed doing this project and learning all of these things. So thank you.